Yo, what's going on, Geminites? It's your boy Gem Mint. We're back with another recent reads. This time we're doing Jason Aaron's Scalped. We're going to cover the 5 deluxe editions that collect his whole run. We're going to do this spoiler free, so y'all stay tuned. Before we get into the run, let's talk a little bit about Jason Aaron. So Manimal and I, we were never the type of readers that followed writers. Not really. We kind of followed artists, but not really. Mostly followed characters. He read X-Men. I read Spider-Man. Whoever wrote it, whoever read it. But doing this show, or this channel, and doing reviews, we start to realize, some familiar names popping up. We read Jason Aaron's Ghost Rider Omnibus, Wolverine and the X-Men, Wolverine Goes to Hell, a lot of Jason Aaron stuff, right? And we met Jason Aaron in Las Vegas Comic-Con. Super chill, humble dude. We talked about his Thor run, current Avengers run. And Manimal and I looked at each other like, man, we like Jason Aaron. Everything he writes is dope. So we've mentioned that on a couple live shows, and everybody comments, bro, you gotta read Scalped. You gotta read Scalped. I had him down here in the desk, and recently busted him open. So I gotta be honest, when I was reading the first book, the beginning, it was feeling a little bit slow to me, right? This is definitely not a superhero book. Nobody has superpowers, except for some kind of spirit guide, Native American ritual stuff later on. I wasn't really in the mood to read like a drama. This story is very much like watching like Sons of Anarchy or Sopranos, which I love, but I wasn't really in the mood, right? So I kind of powered through the first book, and towards the end, I was getting into it. I started flipping pages quick, right? After the first book, I put Scalped down, and I read The Amazing Spider-Man Kraven's Last Hunt, then read book 2, started reading it a lot faster. It was a lot more interesting. After that, I read Amazing Spider-Man the Red Goblin. Then when I went back to Scalped, boom, last 3 books, I just knocked them out. Couldn't put it down. I absolutely loved it. So Scalped takes place on an Indian reservation called Prairie Rose Indian Reservation. It's run by this guy named Lincoln Red Crow, who basically runs the whole res. He employs the local police. He is building a $100 million casino. He runs the whole town, and he is known to have built his empire off of drugs, meth houses, and other illegal operations. He's very traditional Native American, but he's trying to bring his people up. The reservation is very high poverty, high in alcoholism, drug abuse, prostitution, kids having babies at young ages, everything like that. They even mention the average household income is $3,000 a year. So it's a very poverty-stricken reservation, and he's trying to build his people up. Now, traditionalists feel like he's bringing negativity towards his people. He's introducing these things like gambling, and they know what he does behind the scenes, and there is a power struggle within the reservation with traditionalists and with most of the other people because he employs them in some way, shape, or form. So he's very much like a Tony Soprano type of dude. He's a dope character. We learn a lot about his backstory through flashbacks and his connections to our main character, who is Dashiell Badhorse, a.k.a. Dash. So Dash is the main character. He had a rough childhood growing up on the res. His mother kind of came up with Lincoln Red Horse as kind of like revolutionist, I guess you could say. But she was never a good mother. Father was never around. Dash got out of the reservation as soon as he could. Comes back as an undercover federal officer and basically infiltrates Lincoln Red Crow's organization in order to try to take him down. But he's got to catch him on a murder. The big reason why the FBI's got their eyes on, got such a hard on for Red Crow, is that they show us this flashback of Red Crow, Dash's mother, Gina Badhorse, Catcher, and Dash's father. I can't remember his name. But there was an incident back in the 70s, and 2 FBI agents ended up getting killed. And you don't really know who it is until later on in the book. We're not going to talk about it due to spoilers. But Red Crow has ties to Dash's mother, and that's how he's involved in Dash's life. He basically gives him a job on the police force that he controls because Dash is a badass and he came in guns blazing and kind of got his attention. I mean, that's pretty much the gist of it. I mean, you have other characters, like you have Cindy, who is Lincoln Red Crow's daughter. She's estranged. She's a drug addict, heroin. She kind of gets involved with Dash. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of it, man. Jason Aaron does a really good job of writing this. He's very comfortable in writing from a different culture's perspective. He writes from a Native American perspective. I've seen him do African American. So he has no trouble with that whatsoever, and he does a really good job. If you'll notice, my first book is not in here. That's because my boy, who does some behind-the-scenes work here for the channel, true Geminites will know my man F in the house, he wanted to read some comics. And I'm trying to think of what to put him on. And he's actually part Native American, has family on a reservation out here. I'm like, bro, you got to read Scout. He's basically, I'm like, you're Dash Bad Horse. Like, this is you. So my man got this book right now, and he's reading it. But let's take a look at what this covers, and we'll take a look at some of the artwork. So first of all, Jason Aaron gets praise from like all of the big writers, man. Brian K. Vaughan, Ed Brubaker, Garth Ennis. I thought there was a Grant Morrison one. And they kind of joke in the beginning of like him being a good American writer, because I guess at the time all these writers came from England writing this stuff. But here's the first dust jacket. You got Dashio Bad Horse on the front, Dash. This collects 1 through 11, 12 through 24, 25 through 34, 35 through 49, and then 50 through 60. Yeah, so you just get 60 issues of Scalped. But Dash got his nunchucks on the front. That's kind of like his weapon of choice that he picked him up as he was a kid. But yeah, you know what? Let's flip through these books. Let's take a look at some of the artwork. I don't have book 1 with me, but the graphics on the hardcovers and the interior art is very similar. All right, here's the dust jacket for volume 1. I didn't really mention, but this is published under DC's Vertigo title because this is more of like an R-rated book. A lot of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Here goes the back. So they had a cover price of $30. I'm not sure if these are still readily available or not, but it can't hurt to give it a look. Here's Lincoln Red Crow. I know I probably said Red Horse a couple times. I got to find out when I go to edit this. So you go Dash and Red Crow. So all of the hardcovers have like a wraparound cover. That's Gina Bad Horse. That looks like Gina, Red Crow, and the crew back in the day. And so here's the artwork. See, it looks pretty clean right here. Here's Dash. This kid plays a pretty significant role in the story. You got some graphic stuff already. There's Red Crow. I forget who this is. I think this is the cop, like the only good cop on the force. What's his name? Agent Falls, or Officer Falls Down. And he's like the pain in the ass on the force because he's the only one that doesn't like turn a blind eye to all the stuff that Red Crow's into. This guy, Diesel. Diesel's a funny story, man. He's a white guy that grew up on the res, and he always wanted to be a Native American. He always claimed to be like 1/16th. I forget the tribe that he says he's from. But then it's proven that he wasn't, and they make him move off the res. All right, so here you go. A little X-rated there for you. But the Diesel stuff, I'm not going to give any spoilers about him, but he becomes pretty important. He's a bastard. Look at this. Boom. Very graphic, right? I'm trying to remember this kid's name. He plays a pretty interesting role in his development here. Dino, I think his name is. So Dino lives with the granny who basically like never had kids of her own, but she always takes in everybody, and she takes in Dino with his kid, and she takes in Cindy, and that's a pretty interesting storyline too. Here, take a look at book 3. Here is the FBI agent Nitz, who's got a real hard-on for Red Crow. And I don't want to spoil it, but it has something to do with the FBI agents that were murdered in the late 70s. Goes Granny with Agent Falls Down. You jump right into it, you see some nudity. There goes Diesel as a kid. Red Crow's got this enforcer named Snuka. Very interesting. He's a total dangerous badass killer, but he's an undercover homosexual, and that becomes pretty interesting storytelling. Diesel making a deal with Dash. So Cindy Red Crow gets the cover of this one. So like I said, she's Red Crow's daughter, but they don't talk, and they go into a flashback that explains just why. This is Catcher, so he's like this kooky old man that lives secluded in the woods. He has something to do with the night that they keep going to flashbacks on. He was there with Gina, Lincoln, and I forget the other guy's name, man. Dash's father, when whatever went down with the FBI agents. So he's on some Native American rituals, and they do a lot of speaking in the language, and you don't know what's going on in here, but it doesn't. You're not lost when you read it. He also does seem to know some inside stuff that he shouldn't know. He claims from the Thunder Gods or whatever, but it's like, man, how does he know that? Here goes Shunka. I was telling you about. Here goes Dash's father. He comes back after being estranged. Catcher, he's a nut. Alright, the last book, volume 5. Got Dash shaving his head in the dirty ass bathroom. Goes Shunka. That tank top is suspect. This is back in the day. Alright, y'all, that is my review of Jason Aaron's Scalped. I definitely love this. I did feel like the first half of the first book started off slow. Maybe it's because I wasn't really ready to read a drama. But there was a lot of back and forth in time, whether it's 15 minutes ago, 7 years ago, 9 minutes ago. It was a little bit much. And I think the art was a little all over the place in the first book, and it started getting a lot more cleaner and tighter going through the rest of the volume. But I definitely recommend this. I know there was rumors that this was supposed to be made into a television show. I can definitely see that. I mean, it's basically like watching, like I said, like Sons of Anarchy or something when you read it. Let me know what you guys thought about Scalped in the comments. If you haven't read it, does this make you want to go pick it up? I know I didn't give any spoilers. Make sure to give me a like on the way out and subscribe to the channel for more recent reads where we review comic book storylines, omnibus hauls and collection updates, statue unboxing and reviews, live shows, and more daily content. And also, you need to hop on Facebook and join us on the Geminites Facebook group, man. We got it popping in there. We got like 1,300 members. And basically, what the shenanigans that happen on the live show spill over into that Facebook group, and we just talk shit every day. Y'all stay minty. Peace.